Hello friends, welcome. Friends, Vodafone Idea has been in news for last 3-4 days because of the government's equity increase from 22.6% to 49%, and lot of analysis is going on in the public domain by press, by various kind of financial analysts, and I also have done various videos to explain what the situation is. Now, yesterday I did a video specifically about talking about why the stock prices increased, right? Whether it is a value that really got unlocked or it is just sentimental. So you can watch this video and I'm going to paste a link in this description. And in the same video, I also spoke about that how inevitably Vodafone Idea is going to become a government controlled company. For that, I showed you this Excel sheet. In this Excel sheet, I show you the cash flow on account of interest payment, in spite of the fact, sorry for that, the government of India gave a relief of around 36,000 crores. The outflow on account of interest payment on account of the residual debt is going to be such that at the end of this financial year, the Vodafone Idea will have to sell more stake to the government, and that will raise its equity to 56.5% because it will be very difficult for Vodafone Idea to pay 18,540 crores, which is going to be due end of this financial year. And then going forward, these amounts are also going to be very important, very difficult for Vodafone Idea to pay because their EBITDA margin, in spite of the fact that I have assumed a revenue increase of 15%, which is quite optimistic, is not sufficient enough to cover for this payments. So this is what I did. Now in the same video, I also said that I am going to basically do a synergy between Vodafone Idea and BSNL. And this synergy is going to be intertwined in data. And you will really love this analysis because there are a lot of insights which I have been able to unlock in this analysis, circle by circle, right? So let me just show you, without wasting any time, the Excel sheet that I have created. And this Excel sheet is going to be pretty interesting. So let me just take my pen out of the picture, my face here, and this is the let me just take this a little bit. What I'll do is I'll just increase this margin a little bit. So look at this Excel sheet. This Excel sheet is quite busy, friends, but don't worry. Once you go through this Excel sheet, you will be able to understand the value that this whole both entities, Vodafone Idea and BSNL, will be able to unlock, right? So what I've done is, because this is a very busy Excel sheet, I have marked each and every column, right, on the top, so that I can simply call out a column number and you will be able to simply focus on that particular column. And you can pause the video also to look at this Excel sheet. So let me explain. First column is the revenue distribution of the total revenue circle wise. Means, what is, suppose 100 is the total revenue, adjusted gross revenue, because I have taken the TRA number and that is of financial year 2024. Then what percentage of revenue in what circle gets distributed? Now these circles are arranged in a descending order based on Vodafone Idea's revenue market share. So this is how these circles are arranged. I could have arranged it in any way, but I thought that let me follow a particular pattern. So the pattern is that which circle has got the highest revenue share has been placed at top as regards Vodafone Idea is concerned. And therefore, if you look at this column, you will find that these columns, when you add up, it will add up to 100, right? So that's one. The second is that this is the industry's total revenue circle wise, right, for all the operators. So this comes out to be 2,54,000 crores for the financial year FY24. Now, from here, we start to look at the revenue market share of Vodafone. So Vodafone's revenue market share as of date, right, without the BSNL combination, is like this, which is right in front of you. And the absolute value is 38,582 for the financial, mind you, it is for the financial year FY24. I did not take the financial year of FY25 because this year is not complete. The TRA data is still December, right? So that's the reason why. So this, on a pan-India basis, this comes out to be 15.2%. Similarly, BSNL's revenue share has been shown here, and it is 16,161 crores, which comes out to be 6.4%. Now, if you add this to revenue share, this is the number. And now, if you do that, and if you are going to do an absolute value here, this comes out to be 54,743 with a total revenue share of 21.6%. So if you add this revenue share and if you add RGO's revenue share and Bharti's revenue share, they should all add up to 100. Okay. So that is the structure of the sheet from here to here. So just be with me because this is going to become a little complicated because we don't go logically step by step. Then let's look at the spectrum bands mapped with by technology. Now friends, the spectrum is pretty important because if you have the right kind of spectrum, then you will be able to deploy technology with a full and flexible manner. And let me explain to you, this is not going to be simple. This is going to be technical too. And if you are with me, you will be able to understand what kind of flexibility Vodafone Idea and BSNL combination brings in order for Vodafone Idea and BSNL to deploy both 4G as well as 5G. And mind you friends, this will surpass Bharti and you will be surprised to see that, right? So let's look at the spectrum bands mapped by technology. So what I have done is, just below this, I have marked individual columns with technology, 5G, 4G, 2G, 5G, 4G, 2G. So when you look at these mapping, this mapping is basically my prediction or my recommendation as to what Vodafone Idea and BSNL combination should do once the merger takes place. Mind you, friends, merger is not going to be easy. It will be a huge operational nightmare. We are going to come to that later, but let's look at from a theoretical point of view first. The first is BSNL 700 MHz spectrum. Currently, BSNL 700 MHz spectrum is used for 4G. I would like to say that as the merger takes place, BSNL should slowly migrate this to 5G because this is going to give the Vodafone Idea and BSNL combination huge amount of market power because this band, 700 MHz band, is not a 4G band. It's a 5G band. Now friends, you will tell me that if they are going to deploy 5G in 700 MHz band, where they are going to deploy 4G? So for that, you have the Vodafone spectrum. So I have listed down Vodafone 900 MHz spectrum. And you can see that Vodafone 900 MHz spectrum in many places is more than 10 megahertz, right? So and most of the places, most of the important circle, it is at least 5 megahertz, right? You see that? It is clearly visible here. So you can change your equipment from 700 to 900 megahertz, and that you should be using for 4G because 900 is already a 4G band being used by Vodafone as well as Bharti. So you will be able to get economies of scale. Now where will the 2G go then? Because you need 2G in order to take care of all those rural subscribers. For that, you have BSNL spectrum. So BSNL has 6.4 megahertz of spectrum, which the government has given to BSNL and taken equity from BSNL. So this will become the 2G spectrum for Vodafone Idea BSNL combination. Now, 700 megahertz 5G is not sufficient. You need to have another spectrum band which will become an anchor carrier or a carrier aggregation band for 5G because 5G 10 megahertz 700 is not sufficient. It is for propagation, it is for reach, indoor reach, etc. So you need a mid-band spectrum which will be overlaying on top 700 megahertz spectrum. So which band you should be looking for? This is the bands. 2100 megahertz band. Now, strangely, friends, if you do a very in-depth analysis, you will find that Vodafone Idea and BSNL combination is pretty strong in 2100 megahertz band. They have 20 to 25 megahertz of spectrum in most places, 20 megahertz, 25, some places 15. And most of the places they have 15 megahertz of spectrum, which is going to give them a huge capacity advantage on 5G. So this band plus this band will make their 5G offering very compelling. Now, friends, you may say that by the way, then 4G will have capacity constraint. No, friends, because you have the 2.5 gigahertz band, and if you combine BSNL and Vodafone Idea spectrum in the 2.5 gigahertz band, you can see that almost every place, all the circles except few circles, they have got 40 megahertz of spectrum. In some circles they have got 20 megahertz, which is Tamil Nadu, and then in Karnataka, and then in HP they have 30 megahertz, and in JK they have 30 megahertz, and mostly, and they can increase this also if it doesn't fall in the spectrum cap. So we will do that analysis also, the spectrum cap. Then we have got 2.3. Mostly, friends, this spectrum will have to be returned because this is falling in a very, very awkward manner in a band which is close to 2.5 gigahertz band. So carrier aggregation of these two bands are going to be very, very important. I told you that when you have bands which are close to each other, we should not be carrier aggregating or combining those two spectrum because it will lead to huge loss and it will be resulting in shrinkage of coverage. Then we have got the 5G band, which is the 3.5 gigahertz band. Now you can see Vodafone Idea and BSNL 5G spectrum is going to beat Bharti, right? Not Reliance in some places because Reliance has 130 megahertz spectrum in some other places, but it is 120 megahertz in all the circles, most of the circles, important circles, right? Except in some circles, they have 70 megahertz. And we are going to also talk about that how they can be able to combine the two spectrum. I'm going to go band by band and I'm going to talk about harmonization. What are the possibility of harmonization? Because currently these two bands are not properly connected with each other. So it will be difficult for them to use. But tomorrow they can do harmonization and combine the two spectrum. Right. Now, look at the current situation. Vodafone Idea, Vi plus BSNL 900 megahertz band, you look at the quantum of spectrum that they have. And this is far, far higher than all other, at least their competitor, Bharti. So look at Bharti. Bharti has 4.6, 4.2, and look at the quantum of spectrum Bharti has, and look at the quantum of spectrum Vodafone Idea and BSNL combination has. Now, why this quantum of spectrum is so important? Right? Having a large quantum of spectrum is so important. The reason that it is so important is because whenever you are going to do a transition from 4G to 5G, you need a parking spot as well as you have to take care of GSM. You can't be basically, uprooting the technology and deploying 5G in the same band, right? It is not possible. So today, because Bharti has only 900 megahertz spectrum and they have 1800 megahertz spectrum, but if they really want to maintain their GSM network, they actually have to have their 900 megahertz spectrum, some portion of it in GSM. They can't use the full spectrum in 4G, right? Or they can migrate their GSM in their 1800 megahertz band. So you have to play with the 900, you have to play with the 1800, and then you can't deploy 4G and 5G together. So in order for them to deploy 5G in 900 megahertz band, as far as Bharti is concerned, they have to move their 4G in 1800 megahertz band to free up the 900 megahertz. And if you look at this quantum of spectrum, this is not sufficient for them to do that, right? It is quite less. That is why the Vodafone BSNL combination is so strong, because it has all the flexibility, because their GSM is going to stay, without any kind of problem in the BSNL portion. And in this band, which is the 10 megahertz BSNL spectrum, because they have got large quantum of spectrum in 900 megahertz band, they can do the transition easily. They don't have to rely on the 4G spectrum, 4G technology to be completely uprooted. So what they can do is that they can do a stage by stage. Maybe they can do 5 megahertz of 5G first and keep the 5 megahertz of 4G in 700, something like that. But since they have got large quantum of spectrum, this becomes easy. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties because otherwise the video will become very, very long, right? Now look at the 1800 megahertz spectrum band. Look at the 1800. Look at the quantum of spectrum BSNL and Vodafone has in combination. BSNL doesn't have in 1800, but still, if you look at this quantum of spectrum, this is pretty competitive compared to what Bharti has. Now, how do you know that 1800 is competitive? Because what I've done is I've calculated a weighted average using the circle distribution. So when you do a circle revenue distribution of the total revenue, you can get a sense that how much quantum of spectrum a particular operator has, because irrespective of their market share, the revenue distribution gives a good indicator. So what I've done is I've done a sum product. So if you look at this formula, you'll see sum product of this and this, right? This. So this gives a very good reference of how much spectrum Vodafone Idea has and what BSNL has and Vodafone Idea combination has, which is 14.8 as regards 1800 megahertz band is concerned, compared to Bharti's of Bharti also has significant, because Bharti's revenues are properly distributed, the spectrum is properly distributed, so it is not as bad as what Vodafone has, right? Vodafone, see, Bharti has a little higher. Vodafone has 14.8, Bharti has 16.4, so it's not very, very far. But the 2100 megahertz combination, you see 19.1, VI and BSNL, whereas Bharti is only 10.7. So they will beat in 2100 megahertz spectrum band. And as regards the 2300 megahertz band, Bharti has 40 megahertz, Vodafone Idea and BSNL has got 36.9 megahertz, which is very, very close. And as I told you that in the 5G band, it is very, very significantly high. It is 115.8 and Bharti has 100 megahertz in most of the circles, and Reliance Jio has got 130 megahertz in some of the circles. So this combination of 5G in the 3.5 gigahertz is pretty strong, right? Now let's look at one more aspect, the spectrum cap. Now, from where did I get spectrum cap? I will tell you. This is the auction NIA, the last 2023 auction NIA. In that auction NIA document, if you go to page number 115, you will get this annexure B. So in this annexure B gives you the total spectrum cap. In this annexure, this is a TDD equivalent, means FDD spectrum has got uplink and downlink. So what they have done is they have added this together to create the cap for the sub-GHz band, which is FDD, as well as the mid band, which is also FDD, which includes 1800, 2100, 2300 and 2500, right? And then 3300 has got a separate spectrum cap, and this you see that Vodafone Idea and BSNL will not breach, and 26 gigahertz band I'm not even talking about, because that's a useless band. Nobody is even deploying any equipment. Now if you look at this, let's do the test on the sub-GHz band. So the limit I have put here, which I divided by 2, and then I basically calculated Vodafone Idea BSNL, including what? 700, 900, and which other band? Yeah, so 700, 900 megahertz band, when you add, because these are the only two sub-gigahertz band Vodafone Idea has, 700, 900, and maybe there is some spectrum, I think, no, I don't think they have in 800. So 700, 900, if you add, then you end up getting these numbers. So when you see that and you compare these, you will find that these are the circles where there is going to be a slight breach. So this much amount of spectrum has to be returned, and if you go there, you will find that most of the spectrum can be very easily returned, because these are in more than 10 megahertz. So you can, whatever spectrum which is left out, beyond 10 megahertz, you can very easily return. And here also, if there is a shortfall, the 6.4 can be squeezed to 5 megahertz and still it will work. So this is not an issue at all for Vodafone. Some spectrum, Vodafone BSNL, some spectrum has to be returned. Now, as regards the mid band, you can see that there are only two circles where it breaches. One is what? One is Kerala. And in Kerala, if you see, it is 3.8 megahertz has to be returned, and in other circle, which is Maharashtra, both this. Now in Kerala, fortunately, Vodafone Idea has 10 megahertz of spectrum in 2.3. They can very easily. So if you divide this by 2, it comes to be 5. So this can be very easily returned, because that spectrum in 2.3 gigahertz band is a useless spectrum. No, it's not no purpose. Then it comes the other band, which is this one, 0.48. 0.48 is Maharashtra. And here also the same situation that we have, the 10 megahertz in 2.3 gigahertz band, which you also can be very easily returned, right? So that is, I think that is what it is, right? Yeah. So if I go here and see, yeah, that is the spectrum band. So as regards spectrum cap is concerned, no problems at all. Now coming back to the operational issues. So for that, friends, I am going to show you this diagram. Now, friends, what happens is that when you have different equipment for different vendors, it becomes a huge challenge to combine those equipment. So when a company, for example, Vodafone and Idea, when it merged, it was a huge challenge. It took I think almost 1.5 years to cause the merger. So the merger between Vodafone Idea and BSNL is not going to be a simple affair. It's going to be huge. Complex, and the way it will be done is that, because when you are going to have equipment in the same spectrum band being radiated by both the operators, then one of the base stations has to be turned off, and then you have to aggregate all their equipment in one single base station. So you have to basically go and do a lot of jugglery as to which base station to turn off, which base station to aggregate, and then how the equipment has to be shifted from one band to another. Maybe Vodafone Idea has got a different vendor equipment, BSNL has got a different vendor equipment, those will not synergize. Maybe you have to shift to different circle and make one circle for totally independent or totally specific with a particular vendor, some circle with some vendor. So this is going to create a nightmare. So whatever I told you here, which looks quite reasonable, it is going to be nightmare to implement. It is not going to be easy. But friends, it is not difficult also. If the government of India wants, because currently government of India has messed up BSNL big time. But going forward, if the company is managed professionally, and then this whole transition takes place in a smooth, it will be definitely, there will be a lot of hiccups. But if this transition happens, then you can imagine the kind of value that it can unlock because of the quantum of spectrum in the sub-GHz band this two combination has, which is much higher than what Bharti has. So if you see here, what I have done is I have added this 900 megahertz. I think the 700 is also added here. I don't know. Let me just see. I might. Oh, it's only 900 megahertz band. Yeah, 700 has not been added. So if you add 700 here, 14.1. So why I've done is because I'm comparing 900 with Bharti's 900. So they have Vodafone Idea and BSNL has 14.1. Bharti has only 6.6. If you are going to do a weighted average based on the percentage distribution of revenue, and 700 is definitely is. So the net the summary is as follows. The summary is that if you see the individual revenue of Vodafone Idea is 15.2% based on the FY24. BSNL is 6.4%, where the combined revenue is definitely going to be 1/5, more than 1/5. And then there will be a potential of increasing the revenue because they will be able to deploy 5G and 4G in a more empowering manner. The spectrum that they have owned is significantly valuable, especially in the sub-GHz band, as well as in the 5G band, where they have more than 120 or 100 megahertz, which is 120, which is significantly higher than that of Bharti. Now, friends, let's go straight to some of the jugglery which is going to be required, right? Especially in the 5G band of 3500 megahertz band, which I did not speak. I thought of telling you in this video. So this is Vodafone, this is BSNL, and these are Bharti and Reliance Jio here. Now, friends, people will say, how do you then combine these two spectrum? It is not that difficult, friends, because this spectrum will grow in this direction. It has to grow in this direction because of why this is not have grown in this direction, because there have been some issues with cable operators, altimeter, etc. Likely that this spectrum will become free in this direction. So then in that case, what will happen is Vodafone Idea can be shifted from here and placed here adjacent to BSNL. And other spectrum bands should not be in a problem. So if you see here, this is 2300 megahertz spectrum band. This is 2100 megahertz spectrum band. So if I take Vodafone here, and if I take BSNL here, and then I take MTNL here, you can very easily combine them, because some of them are already combined, but you can make the shift and you can combine 2100 megahertz spectrum band. My pen has gone. Let me just see. Show screen was, yeah, so here it is. So if you look at this, so this can be very easily done. As regards 1800 megahertz band, should not be a problem because there is no BSNL here. This is only Vodafone, right? So if I just choose Vodafone, you'll see Vodafone is already combined. Now in 900 megahertz band, if I just take Vodafone Idea and remove Bharti here, and then I take BSNL and I take MTNL, should not be a problem because here this is GSM and this is going to be 4G. So in net, this is not difficult. From a spectrum harmonization point of view, it is not going to be difficult. What will be difficult will be network integration challenges, and there will be challenges as regards to the people. The operational challenges are going to be huge. So friends, already 25 minutes have passed in this video because this video was done in a manner which I thought to do it in a very deep dive, and it's so complex, these things. But I thought I would like to tell you that if a merger is done, the merger is going to unlock huge value, but there will be challenges which are going to be network integration challenges and managing the equipment which are going to be completely different. So managing those equipment and placing them in a manner that they don't cause problems, etc., is to be taken into consideration. So any merger will take almost 2 years, maybe 1.5 to 2 years to cause effect. Okay, friends, thanks for your time. I think you probably understood that, and you might have liked this video. And thanks for listening till the end. And I'll come back with a new video on a new topic next time. Thank you very much.